My project car is broken. And now that it's back at the shop, it's time for us to do a handful of things. First and foremost, get that dang broken exhaust fixed. We're also going to integrate the wiring harness into the car, fix a bunch of little knick-knacky things that we just didn't have time for when we first did this 07K swap. We're also going to do a bunch of maintenance, including a liqui moly engine flush, as well as a transmission service. Remember our exhaust problem? Shooting sparks, banging down the 405. Let me get this pipe out of here so we can see exactly what went wrong. Okay, so this is where it broke. Not only is that where it broke, look at how banged up that is right there. Maybe from bouncing back up and hitting the V-band. Let's get the other piece off. I don't know if you can see inside of here, but like right there and there, it looks like this is just tacked in a couple of places. Now, V-band ring, exhaust. This is supposed to sit down on there like that. I would love to tell you that this is a fluke. However, it's not. It's pretty much most of these. In fact, if you remember that 2.5 Cabriolet swap that I did with Paul and Duncan, same thing happened. Broked, not broke. Now, S&P did send me a new one, so I appreciate that. However, this is apparently a known problem, a problem I wish I would have known about, because I could have had the guys at IE just weld it up before it broke, bang down the highway, sparking like crazy. You can see the damage there, which, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I don't know. This header piece is very expensive. It's like $900, and I assume it came with this. A little disappointed here in the quality of this piece, but we got a new one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this one and this one, both to the welding shop, and I'm gonna have them weld this one up so that this doesn't happen again, and then we'll put this right back on. No more banging exhaust. We have a bunch of other stuff to do to this truck, so to prevent me from losing any of this hardware or this gasket or anything, I'm just gonna put this stuff back on. Our exhaust can just chill like this while we fix all the rest of the stuff. One of the major places that I compromised on this build because of our timeline is in the wiring department. Because we have no room for error, I sublet out my wire harness building to Dave from the TDC shop, so he built these two wiring harnesses for us. This is gonna make this swap plug and play. We have like 4 wires we're gonna have to hook up, and that's it. This is all of the wires for the engine.
So simple.
On a CIS car. We have wires crammed behind the coolant bottle. We have wires crammed underneath the intake, and really the worst offender of all, everything crammed up underneath the dash, including the ECM. So I'll undo all the zip ties, undo all the tape that I put on there, pull everything out, and then get it the way I want it. This is a place where things can spiral out of control for me really, really quick, so we may end up doing things like taking the intake manifold off, making sure all the wiring, every bit of it, is okay. Oh, our center cap went bye-bye. I actually have a feeling that center cap went bye-bye about like 100 feet after pulling out of IE on the first test drive. Luckily, it wasn't the whole like color-matched center cap piece. It was just the BBS logo. The wheel gap is gonna look exactly like it does right now. There we go. That's all the way down. Let's look at where I'm at in this giant, well, it's actually not that giant of a mess, but if you aren't me that has been looking at this for like 700 years, it looks like a giant mess. Also, this is a giant mess. So, took the intake manifold off because I wanted to straighten up all the wiring underneath. Put a little bit of foam around this line for the catch can. Cleaned up all this wiring. Rehooked up our oil pressure switch. Added a connector for the fans. That way we can unplug them and, if God forbid, anyway, we pull the fans out and the electric fans out. We can do that really, really easily. I also shortened up the alternator wire. So in this car, the main power wire goes battery, starter, then off the starter stud over to the alternator. So I just shortened the wire because I had it coiled up like 5 turns. Here's what's gonna happen next. The wires that come out of the firewall go to the battery, and the wires inside kind of have to be done a little on the inside and a little on the outside, then a little inside, then a little outside. So what I don't wanna do is I don't want to finish everything under the hood, then go in the car to clean all that up and go, oh crap, I forgot to account for whatever, and then I'm cutting looms back open and having to redo it. So one, I want it to look nice, right? We want to open up the hood, have it look pretty and beautiful. Two, we want to make sure we don't have any potential, I keep bopping the dipstick. We want to make sure, just like this, I've done it like 6 times. We want to make sure that we don't have any potential wiring issues down the road, like a wire getting caught in a fan. And we want to make sure everything functions properly. When I put the key in and start the truck, no more race panel. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it was great. Now I want to go back and make sure that everything works exactly how it should be. I'm actually going to incorporate some of this mess back in. So this is our main plug that goes back through the firewall. And this was, remember, all the wires that went to the engine, which is almost none. So on this connector, we'll have our start signal, we'll have our 15 power, we'll have our coolant warning light and temperature, and our oil pressure. So I'm gonna basically cut this, and then I'll just lop off the rest of it so that we have it. That 10-pin connector that I cut a bunch of wires off of just a second ago, one of those leads went to the starter. So I actually took the wire off of our race panel, connected it to that connector. But before I get everything buttoned up, I want to just make sure this works with the key in the truck. So got our power probe, you can hear it. And as I reach into the truck and turn the key, it should go red and change tone. That's accessory and start. What that means is we should be able to start the truck once we get the intake manifold back on. Now it's time to start dealing with our wiring near the battery. Now, I'm gonna make a compromise. The terminals on top of the battery, we're gonna use some aftermarket ones. Mark III battery cables are awesome because they have spots in it where you can bolt down eyelets. However, I don't have a set of those, so we're not gonna do that. What's okay though, is even though we're using these guys, which I don't love, if for some reason / when I find the proper Mark III cables, I'll leave enough room so that we can crimp eyelets on them and we can make it look all factory nice, fresh, just like it would if it were some sort of Mark I, Mark III, Mark V, 6 combination. In the meantime, I'm going to take this one, the one that did go to the engine. This is now going to become the ground for the body side. And then I'm gonna use this cable, cut the lug off, make it the right length, crimp a new end on it. And so this one will now be the engine ground. You can see it's a big beefy boy. This is an easy one though. There's not a whole bunch of extra stuff that we need to worry about with just the ground. So that's why I'm starting with this one. That is basically what we're looking at. I think I'm gonna shorten up this body side one a little bit, but there we go. Now the power side, I actually have an extra wire that we have to deal with because of our air ride. So we may have to get a little more creative with this one. This is more of a like, wanna keep it factory aesthetic kind of situation. So we'll be good to go. Before I do the power side at the battery, I wanna get this semi-disaster straightened out. Now, you may remember when we finished this at IE, I zip tied the ECM up to this bar right here. We have wires from the truck and we have stuff from the harness. One of the cool things is when Dave builds harnesses, he tries to give you the opportunity for some level of like customization. That's probably not really the right way to say that actually. Anyway, he put in these flying leads. So we have oil pressure, coolant temperature, and then we have a tach signal. Now, our truck doesn't have a tachometer, but if we decide to add a tach, we have the wire for it right here, which is awesome. But I think what I'm actually gonna do is take the driver's seat out so that I have a little bit more room to get up underneath the dash and really get everything nice. What I'll basically do is I'll find whichever ones these are, which I have a breakout for, and I'll connect them, and then in theory, our cluster should be fully incorporated to our new engine. This is our data link connector so that we can pull codes, we can monitor engine, and we can flash tune the car, which you've already seen happen. But we're pretty much one wire away from killing that race panel. All I need to do is incorporate the wire that was 15 power, which is key on power, from the race panel into a 15 power in our car somewhere, which should be pretty straightforward. So I have our ECM and all the accessories, I think anyway, fully integrated into the car. Our key should now function like it would from the factory. In fact, let's test it. I can hear the fuel pump prime. I hear a bunch of stuff clicking under the dash. So that's all taken care of. I even was able to get the duct for this vent all installed. You don't see anything minus one wire. Now, one of the things about doing this, I always feel a little guilty leaving out is kind of like the brain process of how I figured out like where something's gonna go. Here's the secret. It's usually trial and error. I'll test it. I don't love that. I'll test it another way. Okay, that's great. Then, for example, on this one, I tried to fit the duct up in there, and I had to move the ECM like 4 times to get it all worked through and integrated in a way that made me happy. But as of right now, if we had our exhaust on anyway, this truck should start and run just like it did before. My next task is dealing with the wiring under the hood. So we have our air ride power, which based on how these wires are cut and spliced, I'm probably gonna redo this. This is the power wire to our ECM wiring harness. So what I'll do is I'll shorten this out and we'll go to our new battery terminal. This one is for our fan relay. Same thing, shorten the wire, connect it to power. And then I actually have under the hood this wiring for our fan relay. This is like the rest of the wiring. What I'm probably likely gonna do is just shove it back through the hole and let it live behind the dash so that we don't have all these wires just chilling under the hood. So we should get our exhaust back pretty soon. Once we get that, we can do our oil flush, the rest of the maintenance on the truck, all of that stuff that I had planned on doing while we were in Salt Lake City, but we ran out of daylight. I am actually super excited about how all of this came out, right? This area right here and underneath the dash were my 2 main problems with how we had to set everything up. So we have a new post for the positive. I did a new power cable down to the starter. We have all of our powers connected to this new terminal. I also mounted up our air ride fuse. This was just dangling around here when I got the truck. I also did clip the ends and re-strip the wire sheathing to make it much nicer looking. The fan relay was the last thing I did. I think in Salt Lake and here, I actually kept that under the hood in an accessible place. So it tucked right back here behind the strut tower. This is like a cheap Chinese Amazon situation that I got. So I have full expectations that that will probably be the first failure point of our whole truck. So it's just chilling right here. That way we can get super easy access to it. On the battery ground side, I have a new ground that was our engine ground going to the frame rail, and then a new big boy ground going down to our engine. So we're fully grounded out. The only thing I really have left here is to put our intake on, but we're not gonna do that just yet. The other thing I did was I relocated our dipstick to right over here. It's actually mounted on a standoff to the fan shroud. Remember when we first did this swap, it was just chilling right here. It wasn't fastened at all. And you know, is this the world's coolest spot? I don't know. I think it would be kind of cool to have it right back up here, but I think this is a place that it actually fit the best, and it's super accessible to check the oil. You don't have to do anything weird to check the oil. So under the hood, we're in super good shape. I do have to put the cowl trim back on, which will take like 2 seconds. The only real repair left under the hood is gonna be this fuel line. You may remember we actually swapped this in a parking lot of a hotel before we trekked out on our like 5-hour tour road trip. So I got the correct fuel line for this, so we won't have to worry about that anymore. And after I fix that, we can finally do some maintenance like our Locomoly engine flush, brake fluid flush. The only major thing we have left is to fix this problem right here. Let's get our fuel line changed. So this is the one that we originally put on. That was all swollen and soft and squishy when we landed at that first meetup point. So I saved it just in case we needed it. Now my goal here, 2 goals. 1, make as little mess as absolutely possible. And 2, have this fuel line routed in a place that looks nice. We don't have to worry about any heat from the exhaust or rubbagage from just vibration and whatnot. So I have a feeling it's gonna basically go back where the other line was. And then I think I'm gonna have to 3D print or make a holder. Maybe we'll go to the junkyard and pick something up. I just don't want it potentially anyway rubbing on anything, right? Like we just want it chilling in its chilling spot. It's time to hit that pipe. If we were putting the other one in, I would have said it's time to hit the crack pipe, but that doesn't really apply. So we got our new pipe. You can see I had the muffler shop weld it. It appears that the way the collar is attached to the flex section is really where the weak point was. We're only at this point in time, because we got a race truck, running an upstream oxygen sensor. I think that's good, 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 good. Okay, moment of truth. If I did everything right, I should be able to turn the key. Truck should fire up. Here, fuel pump prime, and go. Yes! Let's go. Okay, real quick. When we first fired this car up, all of us were so just like wiped out, exhausted, and in a little bit of disbelief that it actually started. That it actually started where we started up. So there was no celebration. There was no, yeah, there was no full yeah. It was like, oh, it started. So, yes! There we go. Now you got some enthusiasm on our first start with our 07K fully integrated into our truck. Our last piece is to put our custom Stage 5 not integrated engineering authorized intake on it. So because we didn't relocate the battery, our intake spacing got really tight. And in the 11th hour, our man Dave made this intake. So we're just gonna take a moment to thank him for the elite job that he did cutting down this little shorty. It fits fine though. I think this was out of like a Mark V intake or something. I don't really know though. All things considered, I couldn't be happier with how this truck actually came out. Now you notice there was a missing piece of maintenance, a brake fluid flush. I'm not gonna do a brake fluid flush yet because I think with the power we added to this thing, a big brake or a somewhat big brake upgrade is in order for our caddy truck, so that'll be down the road. Now, I'm also working on everything you need to know about 07K swapping a Mark I. So let me know in the comments what you think people need to know about doing this exact swap. So with that, I'm out. Have an awesome day. I'll talk to you again next time. Bye.